escapes prepared yet.
You need to try and pick off the units as... Look at the shields on the mark.
Oh my god, the drone's gonna take this.
Welcome once again, folks. This is Cat's Pajamas.
And this is Pain User.
And we are back now for a TVT out of the losers bracket. Round number 1 here, IPL Season 2 matches. Here we have Six Jacks CocoA spawning as our Orange Terran player in the top right-hand corner of Zelnaga Caverns. His opponent down here at the bottom left is formerly Complexity Star Life, now Complexity Steak, spawning as our green Terran player.
Great name.
Steak.
Love it.
Yep, I do too.
What about like Ribeye or New York or Flank?
Flank.
We could just throw those in there. Flank actually has application to StarCraft 2 as well. You flank. Right? Oh, and we do have a supply depot going at the front for Steak.
Steak.
Can we just call him
staking his
Star
claim?
Life?
No,
Oh,
no, I
man.
can't make those puns then if we don't. Anyway, we have Steak putting down a supply depot at the front. We have CocoA putting his supply depot at the back. First couple of minutes of a TVT, oh so interesting. First round matches, though, out of the winners bracket were really good. A lot of good Terran players in this. You're going to see some TVT mirror matchups. There were 16 out of the 32 players did qualify as Terran, so
Unbelievable,
there you
right?
have it. Yeah.
A lot of those being EU players. They have such a phenomenal base of Terran players, and they all play together. They all play against one another, and their TVT is incredibly good. Surprisingly, we have a Panamanian here and an NA player, so interesting.
There we are. And both players going for gas first, and no one doing a gasless fast expand or anything along those lines. And I'm curious to see what these players do. I've seen, well, it's going to be so hard for me to call him Steak. Steak, formerly Star Life, the artist formerly known as Star Life. I've seen him so many times go for just kind of crazy off-the-wall builds. He's very good at biopressure. He's good with blue flame drops. He's good at the conventional tank pressure. So I don't know what sort of style he's going to apply here, but I am curious to find out.
Well, both players have gas already at this point in the game, so and we do have a wall starting to go up here for CocoA. Doesn't want to leave that completely undefended in the event that Hellions are... Oh, and we do have... So both players using supply depots to the best of their ability, blocking off different avenues, which will eventually prevent those Hellions from getting in and doing too much damage if either player opens up with blue flame. But on this map, a lot of people have been opening with Banshees lately, and we do have a factory going down right now.
Yep, so Steak putting down a factory. There's also one coming up for CocoA as well. See how quickly these guys decide to put down their second gas. Looks like Steak already has. So that is showing us an inclination of tech. No such thing has happened out of CocoA yet, though. So curious to see where his build ends up taking him.
He could be saving those minerals as opposed to dropping the second gas for a quicker CC. A lot of players will do a Rax Fact CC build followed with a port. But this map just makes those one base timing pushes so strong. You can immediately tech up to Starport, start getting Banshees, tanks with Siege, a reactor on your racks, continue to produce Marines, and you can just really build up this huge timing push that comes at a very awkward time for your opponent. And here we go. We do have a reactor on the racks, a tech lab on the factory, and I'm very curious to see whether he'll just immediately get a Viking or perhaps a medevac or just tech directly to Banshees. But and we do have a starport coming up now as well for CocoA, but CocoA, without that second gas, not going to be able to get those tanks out. He's going with a primarily Hellion Marine medevac style.
Yeah, very cheap units. Not going to require significant investment into gas, which means he's going to be able to produce a higher quantity of units. And if Steak decides to do some good old-fashioned teching here in a second, he could be at a significant disadvantage just in terms of pure amount of units. So that is going to give CocoA a nice little timing. He does have a tech lab down on the factory, just producing a Viking for the time being, and it's going to be a while before he saves up for that blue flame if he decides to go after that. So interesting build. It's really keeping him short of attack units at the moment, though.
I couldn't agree with you more. He did not plan that build out to the best of its, to its potential, just storing up so much minerals and then dropping that tech lab down on the factory without any possible avenue of using that tech lab. He can't get any of those upgrades due to the lack of a second gas. Like I was saying earlier, he did get that second CC up in lieu of the second gas, so he is going to be expanding first here. But in the meantime, Stall Life, can we just agree to call him Stall Life? I mean,
sure, that's fine. I'll go with it.
So we do have a Hellion here scouting out this push from Stall Life. He has quite a few Marines here and a tank, but looking very defensive at this point, not really willing to push out beyond the natural, and I'm not sure what he's worried about with a force of that size.
I think, he may be worried about the same sort of army facing him. Whenever you have kind of those conventional 1-1-1 tank timing pushes and things like that, which were really, really popular a few months ago, you had these very early game battles in TVT that just descended into who had the best positioning on their tanks and who could save their Marines and actually utilize them the best when Siege Tech actually came up. So maybe he's worried about an army of the same size, but the longer he delays, the bigger advantage he gives to CocoA, because CoCoA is going to have that nice orbital command down here in a second, be able to double produce mules, and then his army is just going to take off.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a medevac out first for Stall Life, and he does have that Viking as well, so he is going to look to pressure a little bit here. Ooh, and CocoA landing his Viking. Going to go with an all-ground composition here, not really worried about air superiority. He does have several SCVs on the low ground, and it looks like Stall Life is going to go ahead and start elevatoring into the main here. He has his Viking in position to spot the high ground, and bringing everything is CocoA, and it looks like he's going to engage right here. He's going to take out this first tank, at least on the high ground. The Marines coming out of the medevac and just instantly dying, although we do have one tank from Stall Life shelling from the low ground, but I don't think he's going to be able to kill a single tank. No, he does get one.
Yeah, he gets one, but he wasn't engaging with all of his units at the same time.
Oh, he just lost his entire army.
Yes, he did. And now that puts CocoA even in supply, but bear in mind, CocoA's got a second base. Stall Life's only putting his up at the moment, so CocoA's way ahead on economy now with the 2 mules. He'll be double producing SCVs. He's already got the bigger army as well, so yeah, he's looking mighty fine.
Yeah, he is in a great position right now. Getting another factory. Looks like he's going to start double pumping tanks or perhaps make a mech switch here. Not sure that he has the infrastructure or the gas to support that right now. Just now taking his natural expansion. And we do have more Raxes coming out of CocoA here. He is moving up to 4 Raxes, going to continue to produce those Marines, continue to add tanks, and he has a great foundation moving into the mid game here. He is so well prepared, getting that natural expand down so much earlier, also investing in that engineering bay, getting some turrets up. That's going to help him so much later on in this game, preventing medevac drops and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely, and that very well might be what CocoA decides to go for. I saw a shadow of an air unit flying around there, but that's okay. And look at this. CocoA actually
cute, right?
Puts down a missile turret here next to a supply depot to deny any drops coming across.
And to block at the same time. And I really like that because a lot of times if you do wall there in the back at the Taste's secret hallway, you might end up getting some of those buildings sniped by a Banshee. A lot of times players will fly by that. They'll see those 2 juicy supply depots sitting there, and they'll attempt to supply cap you by picking them off with an air unit. Obviously, there's not much you can do about it unless you want to lower the depots and commit over there, and then they can fly around to your natural. So I just like the fact that there's a turret there. It'll also be great for preventing drops, anything like that. But I could see that play being much more valuable and perhaps effective against a Zerg opponent.
Yes.
Oftentimes, Zerg opponents will use Mutalisks at that area. Not so much applicable to a Banshee. And honestly, most players build buildings there anyway. So the odds that a player is going to fly a medevac directly over that turret are relatively low. I wouldn't put that as a high turret spot priority in TVT.
Sure, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Who knows? It would be really interesting, though, to see if that pays off for him in terms of any sort of detection or things along those lines. Because what I have seen out of some players is that they'll fly a Banshee around this area, then go ahead and cloak it up, and then move their way across undetected. So it would guard against that. But like you said, maybe not the super highest priority play place to put a turret. So now CocoA sieging himself up here in the middle. He did take control of the Xel'Naga Tower and forced away those Marines. Now, I've got to say, Steak's macro has been pretty good. This is a nice little defensive position. It's going to hold himself against elevatoring units into the main. He's got a bunch of Marines making their way up the front. Can't do that anymore, though. CocoA is slowly sieging his tanks down. And even though he is a little bit behind at this point, I mean, for as behind as he was before and as late as he got his orbital command up, as long as he on supply blocks himself, he's done all right.
You sound disgusted.
Oh.
How dare you? Star life, steak, ribeye, staking your claim. Oh my God, we could just go on for days. What an interesting nickname, though. What is with Koreans and just picking arbitrary English words to describe themselves? It's so interesting. Have you ever looked at, like, you know, the old Pro League rosters? It's so funny.
The best one at the
MSL,
moment, though,
OSL.
and he changed is the worst part, but the best one, I'm nuts. Anyway, CocoA's going to move in, though, with the medevac. He is going to pass
Oh,
the
my
medevac
goodness.
They just pass each other saying, hey, what's up? And Steak is going to be pretty well prepared for any sort of a drop. He'll be able to react to this pretty easily. It's going to be kind of funny, too, because, no, Steak is just going to drop down his units. He'll avoid that dastardly missile turret that we were talking about before. There's the stem in, and it looks like, nice.
Ooh, and the medevac goes down right off the bat, leaving just 3 Marines. And wow, all over that was Stall Life. I mean, honestly, though, why would you still try and drop after passing the medevacs? I mean, it was so obvious what was going on there. And, ooh, these Marines and a single Marauder will sneak in the backfield here. They are going to pick off that turret and the supply depot. And CocoA burning a stim, going to look to engage here. He does not have combat shields and going to pull out of there with the medevac.
Not a bad engagement there for Steak. He does manage to take out the supply depot and the missile turret. He gets CocoA to pull all of his units back, and CocoA did have a much better straight line engagement army. It would have been hard to break this tank position over here to the side, but he still did have the much larger army. But he forces all that back, and it gives him a further opportunity to sit down and try and get a force that's going to be able to combat this huge army.
Huge army indeed, but we have so many siege tanks out of Stall Life here. He just has an awesome number of siege tanks right now, and neither player really able to maintain control over the Xel'Naga. I believe CocoA has it right now. He is getting that extra range bonus from the Xel'Naga Tower, very intelligently positioning a Marine in the mushrooms over there by the Xel'Naga Tower. I don't know deep water
the wildlife of the Xel'Naga.
You know those those deep water worms that sit on the geologic vents, deep ocean worms.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what they're called exactly, but
yeah, but that's the Xel'Naga equivalent. They just took a tank shelling and held up.
He gets sniffed out, and that Marine gets obliterated.
And look at that. I mean, it already forces CocoA back.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to mess with that whole situation. He's in a very precarious spot, and both players positioning with tremendous armies at this point and not going to be able to find a window of opportunity there. And this is when TVT really comes down to that chess match situation. Both players with ample tanks to defend one another, setting up those tank lines. It's all about these little sneak attacks to the side, and it looks like Stall Life is going to try and poke in to the natural third here. But keep in mind, CocoA did already have his gold up and running. The PF has been up for quite a while. He has that gas as well, so he has been in an economic lead for quite some time, and he's making a move over here to the gold, and he's bringing all his Marines and all of his tanks in, and Stall Life, with a majority of his tanks over at the left Xel'Naga Tower, is not going to be able to react here.
Nope, not at all. That's going to put him in a very bad spot. He's trying to move up with whatever units he can, but he has to watch out because he's pulling at a range of these siege tanks here. Oh, nice job. He is actually going to be able to get a few units. Now Steak moves up, but his entire Marine force is ripped apart and gets no kills almost.
Somebody needs to tell Steak that his Marines are being shelled. Do they have radio communication or what's going on there? That entire unit.
I don't know, but it looks like Steak's Marines are going to be served. Well done.
Oh my God. And they keep coming. Cat's Pajamas, the Steak Peanut Gallery today. And we do have some siege tanks over here at CocoA's Gold trying to get something done, but I don't know if they're going to be able to accomplish what they need to in order for him to get back in this game. And at the Gold, we do have CocoA moving in with everything, and it looks like he might be able to get the PF. It's getting mass repaired. It's down to the red.
God, it's down to 150 down.
Oh, no.
It takes so many Marines with it, but CocoA is reinforcing so well. He's already got another force assembling back at his natural.
What a pivotal moment in this game. Losing his gold, and now CocoA has a fully fortified gold. He will be able to fall back. He can prevent Stake from taking this position at the gold if he wants to. He already has those tanks in position, and he continues to reinforce at the gold right now, just making things so difficult for Stake.
Yep, absolutely. He's going to start slow pushing his way forward at the loss of a couple of tanks here. May be able to take one out in return, though. Looks like he does. So one tank for one tank, and again, that will favor CocoA quite a bit as he is so far ahead. So right now, it looks like Stake is mining just a little bit off of that main. His natural running low as well, and look at that. CocoA is going to take a fourth.
Looks like CocoA is headed around the back here with a huge flank maneuver. Gonna sprint through John's Common Knowledge hallway and then make his way into the natural with all of these siege tanks. Is there anything waiting on the other side? Absolutely not. Nope. He is going to be in a devastating position here. He just made that entire maneuver under complete stealth. Stalife, having no idea, is going to lose all the SCVs at his natural and most likely have to lift off. And that is a brilliant move out of CocoA.
Yep, and it looks like Stake is just going to go for the all-in right now. So moving up here through the Xel'Naga Tower, he's going to try and push his way up. If he's able to break this position,
is the orbital going to go down?
For him, orbital's about to fall down to 200 points, 100 point of health, and there it goes. Orbital falls at the same time. Here comes Stake, going to make his way up, but all these tanks are already sieged up. Stake does not have anything sieged up to speak of. Not moving in his tanks from the left-hand side as well. Looks like he will actually break this force, but all CocoA has to do is bring his units back because he is tearing through this production.
Good game.
And there's the GG.
Wow. Very well played by both players.
Yep.
You can tell when TVT really comes down to that mid and late game positioning battle where both players are vying for position, especially on a map like Xel'Naga where position is everything, especially when you have that many siege tanks. I mean, siege tanks so good at controlling different portions of the map. Both players using them to their full effect, but what a beautiful, beautiful flank maneuver from CocoA right there. Completely undetected, spur of the moment, just decided after he killed that gold, hey, you know what? I can probably sneak around the back and get into a really good position. Stalife has invested all these resources in trying to siege out my gold and defend the right side. And I think that's really what turned the game around.
Yeah, he's a very smart player. He knows where Stake's production was at. He saw that he had so many siege tanks up here at the left. He saw he had the huge force sitting here. So even if there had been units sitting here waiting, it may have been a siege tank or two and a handful of Marines. There was no way he was going to be able to defend a nice 9 siege tank and 20 Marine 3 medevac push. So very smart play out of CocoA.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll do it for game 1 of this series. And we do have CocoA going up 1-0. We'll be right back at you guys with game 2.